Imagine a man who stood against Hitler, who gave the world some of the most powerful speeches ever spoken, yet secretly loved painting quiet landscapes in his free time, wore pink silk underwear, and once had a portrait of himself burned because he hated how it looked. This is Winston Churchill like you've never heard of him before. Most people only know him as the wartime prime minister who rallied Britain during its darkest hours. But today I'm going to take you inside the hidden life, strange habits, and little-known secrets of Churchill that will completely change the way you see him. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon, because on this channel, we bring you the kind of history and storytelling that you just don't get in textbooks. And trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Churchill was not just a politician. He was a man full of contradictions. Born to a wealthy British father but an American mother, his bloodline connected the two greatest powers of the modern world. He grew up struggling in school, often considered an underachiever, yet the same boy went on to win the Nobel Prize for Literature later in life. And speaking of literature, did you know that the speeches we know today, like the famous "We shall fight on the beaches," weren't even recorded live? The version you hear today was actually re-recorded by Churchill after the war, for archival purposes. So when you get chills hearing that voice, remember, you're listening to history retold, not history as it happened. But beyond politics, Churchill had passions that surprise almost everyone. In his spare time, he painted more than 600 canvases, mostly landscapes. In fact, one of his works, View of Tinherer, sold for an enormous price at auction. For him, art was therapy, a way to escape the weight of war and politics. Yet, not all art flattered him. In 1954, when Graham Sutherland painted his official portrait, Churchill despised it so much that he called it filthy and demeaning. That portrait never saw the light of day. It was destroyed, burned in secret, all because Churchill couldn't stand the way it made him look. Imagine that, one of the most powerful men in history, brought down not by enemies, but by a painting. And then there were his personal quirks, the kinds of things that make him oddly human. He loved clear soups, but hated cream soups. He had a strange fondness for wearing pink silk underwear, which he ordered from the Army and Navy stores. He adored his marmalade-colored cat named Jock, who reportedly ate alongside him at the dinner table. And while people remember him as a man of war, his favorite movie wasn't about battles at all. It was the 1941 romantic drama, That Hamilton Woman. Doesn't sound like the Churchill you thought you knew, right? Even in death, Churchill's story was larger than life. When he died on January 24th, 1965, Britain gave him a full state funeral, an honor usually reserved only for monarchs. For 3 days, his body lay in state at Westminster Hall, while over 300,000 people queued to pay their respects. On the day of the funeral, the nation came to a standstill. Crowds lined the River Thames as his coffin was carried by boat, and millions around the world watched on television. It was the largest state funeral in British history, a farewell fit for a man whose life was as dramatic and complex as the century he lived through. So, what do we make of Winston Churchill? He was not just the bulldog who inspired a nation to fight. He was a painter, a writer, a man of peculiar tastes, and someone deeply concerned about how history would remember him. And maybe that's why his statue in Parliament Square stands exactly where he wanted it, because Churchill wasn't just shaping the present, he was curating his own future legacy. And that's the Churchill you don't read about in school books. If you found these hidden sides of his life fascinating, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. And share it with someone who loves history as much as you do. And here's my question for you. Which of these facts about Churchill surprised you the most? Was it his paintings, his unusual habits, or the fact that his most famous speech wasn't even recorded live? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want more untold stories of legendary figures like this, don't forget to subscribe. This is just the beginning of our journey through history's best-kept secrets.